Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. 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 Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. 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 So we are reading from the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 21, and we're going to read from text 85. And Nanda Kumar Prabhu, could you put it down? Somehow it's very high on it. If you have your device, you can read along. Kona Brahmanda Shatra Koti Kona Laksha Koti. Good. Hare Krishna. Yeah. Kona Niyuta Koti Kona Koti Koti. What means Koti? So I will read the verse word for word translation of the first verse, and then I just read Kona Brahmanda, some universes, Shatakoti, 1 billion yojanas, Kona, some, Lakshakoti, 1 trillion yojanas, Kona, some, Niyuta Koti, 10 trillion, Kona, some, Koti Koti, 100 trillion. Translation: some of the universes are 1 billion yojanas in diameter, some 1 trillion, some 10 trillion, and some 100 trillion yojanas. Thus they are almost unlimited in area. So here's Krishna speaking to Lord Brahma, after Brahma being surprised how Krishna was asking in Dwaraka which Brahma is standing in front of the palace, in front of the door. And Brahma, being the highest living entity in this universe, was surprised. Of course, being a little bit proud also. Why is he asking which Brahma? Because you should know. Purport: a yojana equals 8 miles. Then the next verse: Brahmanda Nurupa Brahmara. What's the meter for Brahmanda Rupa Brahmara Shariravadan Eirupe Paliyami Brahmande Rakan. Translation: according to the size of the universe, there are so many heads on the body of Brahma. In this way I maintain innumerable universes, Brahmandas. Ekapada vibhuti har nahi pariman, tripada vibhuti rakeva kare pariman. No one can measure the length and breadth of no one can measure the length and breadth of the 1/4 of my energy manifested in the material world. Who then can measure the 3/4 that is manifested in the spiritual world? Tasya pare paravyoma tripad bhutam sanatanam amritam shashvatam nityam Anantang Paramam Padam. Beyond the river, Viraja is the spiritual nature, which is indestructible, eternal, inexhaustible, and unlimited. It is the supreme abode consisting of the 3/4 of the Lord's opulences. It is known as Paravyoma, the spiritual sky. Purport. This is a verse from the Padma Purana, quoted here by Lord Krishna. Tabe Krishna Brahmare Dilena Vidaya Krishna Vibhuti Swarup Janananayaya. In this way, Lord Krishna bade farewell to the four-headed Brahma of this universe. We may thus understand that no one can calculate the extent of Krishna's energies. Triyadishvara Shaktira Artha Kudarahaya Tri Shakti Krishnirtina Lokakariya. There is a very deep meaning in the word Triyadishvara, which indicates that Krishna possesses 3 different lokas or natures. Purport. The word Triyadishvara means proprietor of the 3 worlds. There are 3 worlds, and Lord Krishna is the supreme proprietor of them all. This is explained by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita 5:29. Bhoktaram yagyatapasan sarvaloka maheshwaram suridam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shantim richati. A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. The word Sarvaloka means all 3 worlds, and the word Maheshwara means the supreme proprietor. Krishna is the proprietor of both the material and the spiritual world. The spiritual world is divided into 2 portions, Goloka Vrindavan and the Vaikunthas. The material world is a combination of universes unlimited in number. Hare Krishna. Om Jnana-timirandasya Vinachana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavasya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakamitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubheva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Srila Prabhupada quotes a very famous verse in this purport. It's the verse 29 from the 5th chapter, which is called the Peace Formula. In the Bhakti Shastri, this verse is also extensively discussed. Huh?
Which number?
529. So Prabhupada called this verse the peace formula, that if somebody or if human beings follow these or understand these 3 points, that Krishna is the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices, that he's the controller of all the material, of everything. Here it says Sarvaloka Maheshwara, means of all the planets. He's just the ultimate controller. Parameshwara, Parameshwara. And Suridam Sarvabhutanam, that he is the Surid, the friend of all living entities. If one understands these 3 points, then there can be peace. And if one doesn't understand, there can be no peace. In this verse it was spoken about the 3 worlds. I was not sure, Krishna Prabhu, did you understand 3 worlds means? Because we sometimes hear in this material world.
Usually it refers to all this lower mental and upper planets.
I got confused because in the purple Prabhupada says the spiritual world is divided into 2 portions, Goloka Vrindavan and the Vaikunthas, and then the material world is a combination of universes. If he means Goloka, Vaikuntha and the material world.
No, I don't think that.
Because he speaks about the material world being 1/4 and the spiritual world is 3/4, and then he says there is a very deep meaning in the word Tri Adishvara. Means he must also speak about the spiritual world, no? When he says anyway, Krishna is Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, and if you want to add something, now is the time. If you want to comment. Yes.
It's not that important.
Still, it's a discussion. Otherwise downstairs.
I was wondering if it's like in the Vedas described a universe is that big and not bigger and not smaller, right? And so the speculations of the sogenannte scientists of today aren't like true, that it's expanding.
How that science says the universe is expanding.
Yes.
And that there is some mention of how big the universe actually is in the Vedas. Definitely the scientists, they are speculating a lot because they try to understand with the senses, and then by observing with the senses they speculating on the mental platform how it could be, because often the science says it's a theory.
Yes.
Means a theory is not the sense, it's not based on pratyaksha, on sense perception, but it's based on anuman, concocting something. And then they come up with a theory, which they then establish as almost like a law. They teach it in schools, and then people grow up thinking that this is the truth, not questioning that actually we're just learning about theories, not about laws. So, Nanda Kumar, I think you want to say something. Please go ahead.
Just adding that when scientists say, yes, the universe is expanding, then one could just ask, when did they say this? Because they're constantly changing their theories as well. It's not like, 50 years ago they were saying something, and now it's outdated. Now they are saying something else. So whenever scientists say something, I think it's a good question to ask.
I never heard that they know something about coverings. That the universe is like an egg and has so many layers around. I never heard this from scientists. That means they don't know anything actually about our universe. Even they don't know that there are many universes. Coverings. Das Universum ist wie ein Ei, hat ganz viele Schalen rundum, oder? Eigentlich die Schalen sind dicker als das Universum selber.
Das sind die Schalen, die immer
Die verschiedenen Elemente, die jede hat, und jede ist zehnmal größer als die andere. Von dem wissen die Wissenschaftler nicht. Ja, eben. So.
That's why the universe, the word in Sanskrit is Brahmanda. Anda means egg. It's also egg shaped like the universe. Yes, so they're speculating.
Just on that point, I was hearing a class from Bhaktivedanta Manor very recently, and one devotee, very scholarly, was giving class, and he mentioned, I think he's connected to science, and he was mentioning that in biology there is one of these theories that I can't remember exactly what, but I think something connected to life coming from matter, you know, that some biologists are now really
Sweating hard.
yeah, like they can't accept it anymore. They say it doesn't answer, you know, many questions. We need a change. We need to think differently. And he was saying to watch out, you know, in this field, what will come next, because they're really like thinking about it now. You know? They just
Are they
decide.
in a corner?
No, they're just tired. They said it just doesn't work. This doesn't answer, you know. This doesn't give answers. We need to think in another way. Like they're refusing to use the same theories again.
The same premises that life comes from.
Yeah, but I'm not sure right now what was the topic exactly. I don't remember, but it was a very important theory. You know, like very essential in biology. And I thought this was interesting. How just an example of how it is a speculation. Now they're, you know, saying it doesn't work.
Good news, huh?
But in some points they're getting very close to like the reality, because nowadays scientists say that it's around 8 million different living entities on this planet, and like we know it's a bit more, but the scientists also say that they don't know, and they are speculating, but they are coming closer. And also the theory of evolution is like kind of maybe a bit true, because Evolutionstheorie. Yeah, because I just read this verse in the Bhagavatam, and Srila Prabhupada actually also said in purport that it is an evolutionary process, that Brahma is like creating the living entities. And I was just thinking that this expansion could be true because Mahavishnu is breathing, and then out of like very small there comes all the universe, and then they go back again. And I thought like that could be true, that it's like expanding and then coming back again.
Actually, I was thinking about this when you asked the question, but I didn't want to speculate. But you can listen to lectures of maybe Sadhaputta Prabhu. He's a Prabhupada disciple who got the service to make scientific preaching, and I think he speaks about this, many of the theories of the science, and then he compares them to the Vedic point of view. I think he even speaks about this, that there is some truth behind that the universe is expanding, and because we also know in our philosophy there is creation, maintenance and destruction, and this doesn't just happen in a second, but it happens over some time. That we also read in Bhagavatam, that it is it's a process of creation or process of destruction. And yeah, I can give you, or you can either go on YouTube, there are many lectures, and also on ISKCON Desire Tree, you find many lectures of Sadhaputta Prabhu, if you're interested in the science. And you said the evolution. Yeah, the evolution, I even heard that Darwin, who is, they call him the creator of that theory, he took the inspiration from the Vedas, but what did he do? He made it a material evolution. Not the Vedas speak about the spiritual evolution, how the soul evolves through the different bodies. But he created the theory saying that the bodies evolve from one body to another. You get the point, the difference? The evolution theory says that in the beginning there was one microbe or whatever, and then it expanded and it mutated, and then there was some bacteria, and then more bacteria came together, fish and plants and
Monkey and we.
and monkey and then we. And this is such a nonsense theory if you think about it. It's such a nonsense. To put it very blunt, it's really doesn't make any. Did you ever see something like this in this world? It never happened.
About the evolution, so the soul is even the same. The soul is eternally the same, and the soul not get in contact with the material world. But what happens? What evolved is our consciousness. Our consciousness is the link between soul, eternal, and eternal pure, and this material world. And the consciousness, yes, the consciousness get the characteristics of the body, dog body, monkey body, Vrindavanachanda's body. But the soul is the same. The soul are sleeping, because the only thing that the soul do is serve Krishna. When the consciousness stay pure, conscious means Krishna conscious, and completely alert, yes, awake. But the soul is even the same, even in the dog body, in Brahma's body. But the consciousness, yes, is the contact with the material world.
Yeah, the consciousness reminds me a group, Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj wrote an article, and he would sometimes speak about the flowering of consciousness, and he would give the analogy of the flower, and how
flower,
right, it's a seed, then there will be a stem, there will be a bud, and then the bud starts to flower, and that's the spiritual evolution. That for those who didn't start to practice Krishna consciousness, some it's just a seed, and some is maybe just a bud. But once you start to serve Krishna, then you really start to flower to consciousness. And we know then the ultimate goal is Krishna Prem, which is the flower of consciousness, and then perfection attained.
read one from a scientist that this Big Bang theory says that everything involves a chance. But he said the chance that it would happen is like if you sprengen, explodieren in English.
If you want to make something explode.
Yeah. The chance is the same as if you let a bomb in a print factory, and through this explosion, one book with sense exists after. The chance is like that. Then everybody, you can imagine, will never work with an explosion, you know.
Actually, when John asked me, one young Indian man after the lecture, he approached me. We had a little talk, and he's a scientist, and but he was very curious to learn more. And we also spoke that like in this world, we don't have an experience of anything that just is kind of coming out of nowhere. Whatever we see, there was a consciousness behind, some creator, someone who thought about it, someone who created it. I mean, wherever you look, this furniture, this computer, there's always consciousness behind it. So in this world, we don't have any experience of something that just manifests. Just that simple, right? To think that just the body, I mean, he agreed, like, this body is so complex, just the eye, how the eye works, it's so complex. How can we think that this just happened?
He asked you a question?
Yeah, we had a kind of, but he completely agreed.
Yes, I think that makes sense that the principle is that nothing comes from nothing, right? That's like the principle, because every material is made of atoms that are there already. But if bodies are changing, I was also thinking that the evolutionary theory kind of might make sense, just they quit the important part, the soul. But I was wondering if a living entity comes from the heavens, also from Goloka or wherever, to the material world, then maybe it gets a very low form of life, and then it goes up to the human. And that would make sense that first the living entities were in this material world lower species. But I'm speculating all the time.
Spirit soul comes from the spiritual world to the material. There is some statements from the acharyas that when a spirit soul comes, he or she becomes Brahma. Brahma, right?
Yeah.
I think Bhaktisiddhanta or Bhakti
Amazing concept.
Because I was wondering, we know that animals don't fall down again, right? They go up all the time because they cannot make sense. And how does this work? Because if you're a dog and go up, then a human being would have to become a one-cell thing. Also,
when a human being evolves,
human beings can go downwards, right?
Yes.
Into animals.
Yes.
But if animals can't go up, then a human being would have become a...
when it goes down?
Yes.
No.
Also sie müsste dann ja eigentlich wie
no.
zunderst in einen Einzeller.
Because Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, yang swapi bhava, whatever you remember at the time of death, that's what you get.
Yeah.
It's not that it's just you have a human life and then when it's finished and you didn't make it back to Krishna, you have to go down again.
Ja, nein, also das habe ich auch nicht gedacht, aber wie, wenn man ja nicht absinken als Tier, dann müsste ja eigentlich ein Mensch in einen Einzeller können werden, sonst würde es Einzeller gar nicht geben, oder halt ganz kleine Wasserlebewesen. Und dass man so ein Bewusstsein hat wie ein Wasserlebewesen, das kann ja nicht sein.
She's saying that that a human can become a one-cell entity. This is impossible. How is it possible that a human being can again go down to such a basic form of life? Could you want to say something?
Se a questão é por que animais não pagam karma, por que seres humanos pagam karma?
Is the question about animals not having to not having karma and human beings having some karma? Is that the question?
No, it's not the question. So theoretically, it's possible, yes, because
It's the same soul.
the soul can. Sorry.
Yeah. Soul is soul. It doesn't matter in which form. That means why
Yeah.
not?
Also ich habe eben Devaki Mataji mal da gefragt und sie hat mir gesagt, ja, da macht es eigentlich Sinn, dass man eben halt unten anfängt sozusagen, aber das ist ja auch mega komisch, wenn man mit Krishna ist, so alles und Satchit einander, nachher kommt man in den Zellen. Also das macht eigentlich auch nicht so viel Sinn.
Os animais evoluem, daí chega no ser humano e pode descer ou subir.
Yeah.
Aber ja, das
I mean, yeah, this is the question of you. How theoretically a soul can go everywhere, right? Can take any body, and animals they naturally go up, but a human being, because of karma, can also go down. And is it actually possible that a human being can take such a primitive form as a microbe or? So theoretically yes, practically
Yeah, it must be. Otherwise, why it would exist?
yeah, of course the soul, but now about this point that a human again goes so low.
It's a question.
I never heard about anything
Yeah.
like that in the scriptures, but so theoretically yes, a soul can degrade itself again, but I don't know any practical example.
Yeah, but
It's not a question of if it's possible.
Of course,
no,
if you say
not
that
the question
every
is,
soul
I
is
understand
Brahma
the
first
question.
and then from there degrades, then means yes, it can go that low again.
But otherwise, how to? Brahma had sons, and he said to them, "You have to create this kind of whatever it in the beginning. Nothing was there. The whole universe was empty. But Krishna gave him the knowledge to make all these living entities, and then the demigods had, or his sons and so, had to create them. But the soul, why a soul get this body of a microbe? Why is the question now?
Because of the consciousness.
Yes, it means that somebody had this consciousness, that it would not come into existence.
A consciência da alma é diferente da consciência do micróbio.
The consciousness of the soul is different from the consciousness of the microbe.
A alma, a Jivatma, ela tem uma consciência individual.
The Jivatma has an individual consciousness.
Mas o mundo também tem uma consciência.
But the world also has a
O
consciousness.
mundo também é controlado por Prakriti.
The world is also controlled as
Quem
Prakriti.
controla Prakriti?
Who controls Prakriti?
Paramatma.
Paramatma.
Paramatma entra dentro de cada indivíduo, a menor partícula da matéria.
Paramatma enters into each atom, each small
Então,
particle of matter.
como é que o nosso corpo está digerindo e fazendo todas essas funções?
How is our body digesting, doing all the functions it does?
Porque dentro da célula existe a consciência do Paramatma.
Because within the cell there is a consciousness of Paramatma.
Mas o nosso corpo tem outro ente consciente,
But our body has another conscious living entity,
chamado Jivatma.
Jivatma.
A fonte é a mesma, Krishna.
The source is the same, Krishna.
O exemplo que Bhaktisiddhanta Swami dá é o seguinte:
The example that Bhaktisiddhanta Swami gives is the following.
Se você entra num avião,
If you enter an airplane,
o avião tem cerca de 200 passageiros.
the plane has about 200 passengers.
Mas os 200 passageiros controlam o avião?
But are these 200 passengers controlling the plane?
Não, só o piloto.
No, just the pilot.
Então o nosso corpo ele possui uma Jivatma,
So our body possesses a
uma
Jivatma,
consciência individual,
an individual consciousness,
pequeno controlador.
a small controller.
Mas dentro do corpo também existem muitas outras consciências
But within the body there are also many other consciousness,
que
types
vem
of
da
consciousness
consciência que controla o universo,
that comes from the consciousness that controls the universe.
que é Paramatma.
That's Paramatma.
Última análise do Krishna.
In ultimate analysis, everything is Krishna.
Thank you, Mahakrishna Prabhu. So if you don't, do you have anything else, Yamuna? You're satisfied? No? You're not satisfied or you don't have anything
Chant
more?
Hare Krishna.
Okay, so Sadaputta Prabhu, you check his lectures out, he's very nice. Thank you very much. So then we have one last festival day ahead of us. I wish you a lot of strength and inspiration, and we just have to remember what Prabhupada did. Kritagya, we heard yesterday, what Prabhupada did, so much sacrifice in order for us to now sit here in this temple room and listen Chaitanya Charitamrita, the darshan of the deities, and today we have again a chance to give something back to Srila Prabhupada. So yesterday we were doing the formal worship, and today we can follow his instructions and please him in this way, and that is also a kind of worship. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.
Jai.
Major plans for the breakdowns today or other days or the stage?
Hare Krishna.
Oh yeah, that was the last morning program where we had 7:15 darshan.
Ja, das ist kein
Also auch
Problem.
Aktieren.
Ja,
Das
das
ist
ist
nicht
kein
eine Linie oder
Yeah,
weniger.
the thing is now.
Also eigentlich heisst ja eben, dass was wir für das Bewusstsein angenommen in der
I was thinking that when
das muss man aber
Ja.
the floor
aber
is
es ist ja unwahrscheinlich, dass ein Mensch so denkt, wenn ein Einzelner denkt gar nicht.
Nein, aber das vom Band kennst du.
make sure it's
Wenn
really
einer intelligent so missbraucht ist, ganz
so I don't think you
dann
can
wird
make
bestraft nachher. Das ist nur das Bewusstsein, das man und einfach. Das ist dann so reduziert, das Bewusstsein.
Aber ein Band, also Bäume sind ja eigentlich, sie dann ja kommunizieren miteinander.
Ja, ja,
das ist
das tun Einzelne wahrscheinlich auch. Unterschätzt die nicht. Weil die können sich ja vermehren und alles, was passiert.
also das ist ja die Intention, die teilen, das sind jetzt auch
Ja, schon.
Ja, also dass sie also wenn sie halt, ich habe wie so das Gefühl, wenn man irgendetwas denkt, dann muss man ja irgendwelche Sinneswahrnehmung haben. Sonst, nein. Also Sinneswahrnehmungen sind ja Zellen. Und ein Zeller ist nur ein Zeller, das hat keine
But the big one is
Sinneswahrnehmung.
actually, you asked me.
So viel ich weiß ich nicht. Ein Einzelner, der Konstrukt oder?
I asked you.
Yeah.
X Element, die
And the answer is yes, because it's an Android, so it installed
das ist ja
Node.
ein Element.
Oh, yes.
Und was ist die Eigenschaft von einem Element?
Ja, also Wissenschaftler gesehen ist halt.
But you know how it is with these things.
Did you try it out?
Yeah, yeah.
Ja, das stimmt.
Ja, es sind Leihwesen, also wirklich ist ja Leihwesen, wenn es ein Bewusstsein hat.
Ja.
Aber
That's very
Ja.
good. Saturation.
Ja.
der Mensch muss das Bewusstsein haben.
Das weiß ich auch nicht, was er jetzt macht. Das weiß ich nicht. Aber dann stelle ich mir die Antwort. Er hätte nicht quasi eine Antwort. Aber darum heißt die Geschichte wird zwischen der Mann.
Ja.
Wie das ist ja wirklich die
Who will chant?
Also ich kann
Aber stimmt, das kann man nicht. Das ist nicht
Hare Krishna.
und nicht irgendwann das Teil, wenn das ist.
ja, das Drama ein einsam Bild.
Ja, nicht der. Nein, ich muss schon warten. Ja, aber das ist das gleiche wie als Mensch ein Baum. Das
Ja,
ist
doch, ein Baum ist, also das ist eben, das ist etwas ganz anderes, als ich denke.
nein, der Schritt vom Baum meistens. Aber nicht von einem Baum, ist doch anders. Wenn du gleich was malst, ist das hingeht, oder? Oder? Ich sage nicht Brahman mit dem Erzählen, aber wenn Namen zuerst Brahman und es gibt ja die anderen Lebewesen. Also muss ja irgendwann muss Brahman auch Fehler gemacht und wieder und das kann wieder sein. Und so kann das Ende noch weitergehen.
Ja, eben, aber nein, das geht eben nicht, weil die eigentlich
Genau, das ist eigentlich der Punkt, dass du kannst von den Tieren nicht gehen, du musst nur vom Menschen abgehen.
Ja, das weiß ich schon. Die reden von Menschen, die immer wieder dran sind.
Weißt du, das denke ich halt, was mir auch noch Sinn kommt, ist, wenn Karma ist so komplex, das heisst, das Leben von einem Mikroben oder was auch immer ist ja auch sehr kurz. Das heisst, es kann sein, dass irgendwie das Karma, wenn du irgendwo mal für einen Moment das manifestiert ist, kommst du das für einen kurzen Moment über, aber nachher wandelst du wieder weiter.
ja.
Weißt du, was ich meine?
Aber das kann trotzdem nicht die Umkehr. Also der ganze Prozess.
Wenn es dann so nicht verstanden heißt, dass für einen kurzen Moment sind dann gar nicht mehr Mensch. Also das funktioniert nicht, oder? Nicht, dass ich den Straßen von
Hare Rama
depende da misericórdia de Krishna para você entender, né? Uma coisa bem clara. Mas a minha resposta foi lógica e foi baseada nos Shastras. Antarani é a posição de Deus, Paramatma, que vem tomar conta do mundo, é a alma do mundo. Ele entra dentro do que? Da menor porção, na menor porção da matéria. Por isso que quando a célula não tem uma Divatma, coitada de Divatma ali na célula, né? Quem está controlando a célula é a Paramatma. Por isso quando a gente sai do corpo, o que acontece? As células se autodestroem. Por que a gente está sentindo fome? Por que as unhas estão crescendo? Quem está controlando isso é a Paramatma.
Mas, por exemplo, eu estava falando também, por exemplo, um ser, sei lá, uma bactéria, que é
um ser unicelular também, celular, dimensionalmente. Exato, tudo isso é feito por Paramatma. Ou você acha que a célula é consciente?
Essa é a pergunta dela, tipo, a gente pode se tornar
Não.
tipo, não só as células do corpo, mas
reproduzindo o Bhagavad Gita, o que Krishna fala? Que os três modos de natureza influenciam desde da formiga, né, até o ser humano. A formiga ainda é consciente, tem uma Divatma, mas o universo celular, esse universo microfísico, Paramatma. Tanto que como que é a teoria da evolução dos Vedas? Né? Que a gente sai das espécies aquáticas, depois para as espécies terrestres, né? Répteis, até chegar à forma de vida. Mas a alma não tem nada a ver com isso, porque a alma não se encobre com os três gunas. Quem é que fica coberto pelos três gunas? A consciência. Mas o ponto é que é muito difícil dissociar, dissociar a alma da consciência. A gente só faz isso por quê? Porque os Vedas estão dizendo. Mas quem fica encoberto pelos três modos é a noção do ego, a tantra, a buda, a inteligência e a mente, principalmente, né?
então, na hora de dar a vida, tem uma Divatma.
Anda culpa. Aí eu estou especulando baseado nessa assertiva do Bhagavad Gita, né? Mesmo quando você não tem uma resposta, tem que ver o máximo que os Vedas falam. Quando os Vedas falam, a gente fica tranquilo, é ciência. Mas provavelmente os peixes também têm, né? Porque são seres aquáticos, né? Deve ter esse peixe lá. Você acha que células também têm desejo, vontade, luxúria, ira?
Acho que a resposta.
É o Shimaya veio mostrar.
you found
It
it?
was just behind, right behind that.
Ah, okay, yes. But this was the place before you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think maybe it was changing for the two
Now we have everything, huh?
Yeah, flutes and that's enough.